From Sunset Beach, Hawaii, weighing 267 pounds, the magnificent Muraco.
Why is it they call him magnificent? The man who lifts condominiums off his chest. Anything that's explosive, anything that's exciting, Prince of Darkness, Master of Destruction, perpetrator of violence. Get ready! I'm gonna burn this place down!
Hello, welcome once again. It's James here with Don Muraco's Magnificent Podcast, and before I throw it to the hero of the hour, the superstar, the star of the show, I'll give you a couple of plugs. So Instagram, Twitter, I'm pretty much sick of doing the plugs, but also dontherockmorocco.com for your signed merchandise, and if you want to buy anything of mine, which is basically 2 books, The Rock and Owen Hart, as you can see behind me, available on Amazon. But for now, I have an hour's worth of questions. In fact, I've probably got 10 hours worth of questions for Don, but I've stuck it down to an hour or so's worth of questions for Don Muraco to answer as honestly as he wants to. Are you ready, Don?
Ready.
You didn't keep that shirt on from last week.
No, I went home. Went to the laundry. No, I just put the old Maui Jazz and Blues Festival.
Did you actually go to that, or did someone bring that back for you?
Yeah, my wife got it for me.
Oh, okay. I didn't think you were a jazz and blues fan. I would have thought you were like,
No, I like the. I'm not against it. I'm not a concert guy. Sit there for hours and hours.
I'm not I was never a. Like you've got Coachella in like California, so like 3-day festivals. I could never do a festival like tenting and just like wallowing around in my own shit for 3 days. I'd hate that. I have to have a shower every day.
Woodstock, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm a beach boy. I'm a beach bum. Gotta hit that shower in the water.
Oh, dear me.
Before, during, and after.
Before, during, and after. Yes, clean. Yeah. Clean is the order of the day. Right, the first question, as I've done with the last couple, is from me. And I'm going to ask you about your involvement in WWF Magazine. Was it like the old Apter mags where they would basically just make up any old crap they thought of on the spot for an interview? Or obviously, had promotional photos taken for the magazine and for merchandise and everything, but, did you do anything else for the magazine as far as interviews or anything else?
I think pretty much at the time they just followed their storyline, didn't they? What storyline what the angle you team, before pre-Pedro's Muraco seeks Intercontinental title, and they were doing their own magazine. They 86 the Bill Apter and George Napolitan and all those guys out on Long Island that after senior the transition to junior, they pretty much a couple of guys were given only a couple. I don't think George Napolitan, and maybe Apter occasionally,
Stanley Weston, that's the name.
None that I know.
Oh, okay.
I know George, and I know Bill Apter, or knew George and knew Apter, and they're around pre-junior, and then sparingly afterwards. Maybe not in the Garden, maybe other shows or something. And I know they had that out in Long Island, New York. They had the Boxing Wrestling Illustrated stuff. So when they went to, it was pretty. I remember my first when I first went to AWA. There was a lady, Gloria Anthony, and what did you do? I did, I gave her a couple things, and next thing I know, I was a professional surfer and a underwater photographer. This is years before professional surfing even came on the horizon. But I was that underwater. Wow, am I interesting? Geez, this is good for me. But yeah, they created, and they were able to. Maybe there was times they had feedback. That I remember. But they had story writers, Vince, first class. Story writers that followed the storyline. Muraco chasing Intercontinental title. Muraco hates Ricky Steamboat. Muraco after Bob Backlund, that title is mine, or whatever whatever the moment would be, and they would construct a story out of that.
Did you ever like buddy up with Bill Apter at any point? Because I assume his friends or the people he liked most in wrestling, got more coverage.
Everybody did. He was a nice guy before and after. He would travel he was around when Senior had the Garden in those places. He was, he did his Jerry Lewis thing and the Pedro Morales impressions and stuff. He was, and George Napolitano was a nice guy and always had pictures for you and stuff like that. Would give you 8x10s that he had made extra for you and stuff. And then after there was some, but everybody was pretty much friends with Apter. Apter was he was a congenial, still is, I suppose. I see him in pictures and stuff now. He's old now, aren't we all? But he was, a congenial guy, and he was around. And so he was, maybe I met him in Florida or maybe on the West Coast before even Madison Square Garden in New York era days. So, so he wasn't a stranger to me. He's a nice guy, funny, fun to talk with, joking, not really pressuring you, he wasn't stupid. Some guys you tell them they're just, oh, he's wrestling this and that, come on. I mean, you know it, I know it. Would we have to, approach it from, let's be, have a little common sense. And he wasn't one of those guys.
With the 8x10s, did you ever try to pay for like drinks or a meal with a signed 8x10?
Yeah, the Sheik. I guess a few guys have done that. No, I didn't. Never. In fact, after I got out of the business or got away from the business, even now, my wife acquired some 8x10s and stuff, and acquired, I get a few stacks and they send autographs and stuff out. And but when I got, I was pre that era where guys are selling their pictures and stuff. I used to give, I didn't sell pictures. I would give if I had any, but I never had 8x10s or anything, until that era came. And even when that era came, I was, behind this step late, out of step with all that. I remember in Australia, I went to Australia and Jake Roberts had the Polaroid camera gimmick. And we came and he was doing $800,000 a night on the Polaroids. I forget, it was $10-20 a piece. And he'd go out before the matches and at intermission. Even after, all the whole time. He was knocking down a bunch of cash. But no, we didn't. That's pre my day. And but I remember the Sheik. I hear Virgil.
It was probably no one wants them. No one wants his signed photos, as far as I can tell. If the lonely Virgil photographs are to be believed.
Boy, they kill him on the internet. He's just they could book him as a heel, so he could come back as a most hated Comic-Con guy in the world.
It's funny, I actually interviewed Jacques Rougeau last week, and
I saw that.
Yeah, and he said, "Man, Virgil just what a great guy, what an absolute great guy." So maybe he's just playing up a character.
He was fine. He was cool. Always, talking. I guess he had he was there after I was gone. What impression he made after that? But he was with Ted DiBiase and. Didn't seem to be, I didn't hang with him or nothing, but he seemed to be like a real stiff.
Yeah. I should say that, I think he's just got a bad rap on the internet, and he's a hustler for selling those signed photos. But
the pictures, he's Drives a hard bargain.
A hard bargain it is indeed. I will move on to my next question, and my print has gone weird, and it's done it all in very light pink. So, Steve Mash, for those who haven't heard it, can you tell the story about the time you bought the pro football jersey to wear before your match with Rocky Johnson at the Garden? One of the funniest things I've ever heard. Thanks, Uncle Don.
I don't know. That's he dissed me one time when we were baby faces and riding up to, I don't know what was wrong with my car. And we rode up to, caught a ride with him to Orlando. And he had a van. And then he always had and then coming back. And it goes into family things. Oh, no, I did what happened. My revenge for the incident. That's not that I was, but Rocky he wasn't a steamboat. He wasn't going to sell out for the match, and he wouldn't go all, back when Pedro, he was, I guess because he got in so early to the business and he'd been a star, as soon as he got in the business, he was main event or anything else. But I had T-shirts. I'd start off, when we started the angle out before we got to the Garden, I would say, let me, give you a slap across the face. Now, I used to go with different T-shirts people used to give me and stuff. I just grabbed, my shirt, tear the shirt off my back, beat the hell out of me, throw me all, and leave me, laying in the, and I'll take a powder and be, all dazed in rags. So that was going down. So we got to the Garden. That's kind of all he wanted to do, is that. And I had a Steeler jersey and these football, actual NFL. I used to drag Piper to NFL Hall of Fame in Akron, Ohio. Every time we were going back, he could care less about football. And I bought, I'd buy Jerry Rice and forget the jersey of the Steeler player, but I had a Steeler jersey and I went out, and it was New York, so I had the Pittsburgh jersey in, because I was antagonizing. So I'd go, we'd done it about 2 or 3 times. I'd slap him across the face and grab my shirt and beat the hell out of him. So, this is the easy way out now. Okay. So we're in the Garden. His first main event in the Garden. So that's okay. He goes, we don't do the same thing we've been doing? That's a nice shirt you guys. Yeah, go ahead. Why not? So here we go. And this time I really let him have it. Whack. With the slap. I knew. So he grabbed the shirt. And he throwing and tossing and hanging and dragging me out. And then, those football shirts, they just don't rip. You need you and 2 or 3 of your best friends to tear it apart. I had hickeys all over my neck. Tears, hot burns, and everything all over. And it wouldn't come off. Finally came off. And we had in those days, the Garden, I don't know if they still do, but the Garden used to go to 11 o'clock. It was a curfew, Madison Square Garden. We had the last match. So he did that, and we then went about 10:15, 10:20. We went in, we were closing the card. And like I said, I never beat Rocky. He'd win a disqualification or I'd get counted out, but I never pinned him or submitted him or anything. So we were going in, we went at 10:15, 10:20, and we were going to curfew till 11 o'clock. So grabbing me and he blew up his forearms. It blew his arms. He couldn't move his arms for a good 5 minutes into the match. His arms were so tight. But that came from something he did to me earlier. That wasn't, it involves family and people and women and stuff like that, But I didn't, I'm a prick anyway. I admit that, but, I had, there's a little comeback I was making.
Was it the same shirt, like the red one with the 64 that you'd wear when you were feuding with Piper?
Where did I get that from? I think I got that from King of the Ring. Is that John Hanna? He was a ball player, and we had I had a whole bunch of them. After a while, I had a whole bunch of those because we did these battle royals where you wear all kinds of cowboy outfit or I don't know, for some reason they put me in a lucky one time because I took a bump out of the ring and landed on my head on the floor and had shoulder pads and a helmet on. Was one of the heaviest bumps I ever took. So nothing happened. I was padded. But for some reason, I guess Howard Finkel was ribbing me or something. They put me in all these battle royals. Ernie Ladd, these football players were actually, and I thought I was embarrassed wearing them in there. But they said, "Oh, here, this is you want. Kid wants you to wear this." It's curious surfboard or something, But no, football. So every New Year, I was on a baby face too. So we were in Long Island. I had a Jets jersey. San Francisco, wherever I was, I had the, they give me the whole, a helmet. They'd bring me a brand new jersey to keep. Beautiful. So I don't know what happened to that. That jersey was I think that was John Hanna's number. And I got that from King of the Ring. How I got that, they brought me, I ended up with the Sheik for the last match, for the main, for the King of the Ring title for there. And I was, you can't beat City Hall, so I wasn't going to, the Sheik was hot, and I wasn't going to, and Iran was hot, and Ayatollah was hot, and everything, and I was, one of those kind of heels that you hated, and I could do business with anybody, any good baby face, but, I wasn't, like we talked before, it wasn't that kind of heat, the Japanese or the Russians or where you actually had family, like Billy, we're talking about the White Wolf, Adnan, people that actually died in the Twin Towers and stuff like that, where, you're talking family and that type of heat. So I knew I wasn't going to chances were, I wasn't going to out heel the Sheik. So I just made a blade. I got, they brought me that jersey, and John Hanna was, he was a big time football player for New England for a long time, that era. And I just went, and then it was the inaugural King of the Ring. And I guess nobody realized it would turn into a pay-per-view, or maybe Vince realized, but nobody saw it. So that's how I got that jersey.
Yeah, but 8 years down the line, yeah.
I was a homespun hero for the New England Patriots. I was a Patriot.
Well, the thing is, you wore it also for the famous donuts spitting interview with Mean Gene, but you also wore it with the kilt when you were feuding with Roddy Piper as well. So that shirt got a lot of airtime.
Yeah. Is the same one? You sure?
I think different? So. Yeah, I've got the red one with the 64 on it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I've got a photo somewhere. I can find another time because I'll just spend about 10 minutes.
But I got a whole. I ended up. I guess they'd be a lot of money. They're worth a lot of money now, though, because of everybody, But I gave them all away or lost them. I lost what I gave to my friend in Philadelphia, and now they asked me. People had the Rock on the back, and I was a babyface then. The office brought them for me. I was stoked.
Someone has also asked an American football question. Evil Beef 32 asked Don, being a football fan, the NFL would hold the Pro Bowl in Hawaii every year. Did you attend any of the games?
A couple. Hula Bowl used to go. The Hula Bowl, the Pro Bowl, not too much. Pro Bowls, wasn't that all the stars and stuff, and they'd be all around the islands and stuff. And then I went one time, and it was my wife, who doesn't know football from a baseball, but her girlfriend from New Jersey came with her boyfriend, fiance, or whatever at the time, and he was a big deal insurance salesman on the East Coast, and these other guys from a hospital that he sold the hospital policy to all the employees of the hospitals and stuff in the hospital group. They hooked up together, and they had 50-yard, which was prime tickets under the sun, tailgate, food, everything else. So my one time at the Pro Bowl was not my doing, it's my wife's.
Yeah, at least you can say you went though.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was great seat, under in the shade, 50-yard line, food, drinks. Chinese food at the expensive Hilton afterwards. It was cool, but that was the rest of the time. Pro all-star games.
Yeah, they're not trying the hardest, are they?
Yeah,
Just tippy-tappy. I've seen basketball all-star games where basically they just let whoever's got the ball straight through. It's like, what's even the point?
who was super? Atlanta lost to somebody. Whoever Atlanta lost to that year. That was the year of the Pro Bowl I went, because same guy that's there now. Or maybe I forget the quarterback. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, we shall move on. And the next question is from Peter D. Memories of the Honky Tonk Man. Have you seen his shoots? He has some strong opinions.
Yeah, hates everybody. He pretty much tells it like it is. He after I got out, I left and I started doing independent and stuff. When I got to the territory, which wasn't for long, but when I got to a town and found that he was there, and I'd put my bag next to him because he would have the gossip on everybody. Jake is doing this, and he's got an English girlfriend that's paying, and this guy is over here, and this guy, I'd ask him, I'd hit him with questions I wanted to know as well, and he usually, more times than not, had an answer. He was well informed.
What do you make of him in ring wise? Because I'm sure some people have complained about him, but god damn, he knew how to work that gimmick, let me tell you. And I didn't see people sitting on their hands. People were screaming for blood when he was in the ring.
Yeah, that was your Vince McMahon Jr. era, with the Elvises and the Warriors and the Macho Man. It was right into the merchandising, thing. I mean, it wasn't a wrestling from the 50s and even the 60s, where if somebody was out there, you'd go and then he was a jerk or something, and somebody would go out and test him, or somebody go out and learn him. It was you were part of a play, part of a movie now, where Ultimate Warrior is untouchable. Hulk Hogan is untouchable. You want to work, you work Hulk Hogan style. You don't go out there and drop, to hold Hogan and hold him down and stick a chicken wing and a half Nelson in him and rub him around the mat. He's Hulk Hogan. He's selling millions of dollars worth of tickets. I mean, you go out and you do what Hulk Hogan does. You go out and do what this guy does, or you're a baby face and you go with the Hulk, what the Honky Tonk Man is doing. So it was a complete transition of into Vince McMahon Jr. into what would become WWE entertainment, because like I said, I just watched the finish of their last pay-per-view, and it was one that I was doing 40 years ago that I'd taken from somebody else 20, 30 years before that. Not I, but we, our promotion, our angle, it was a convenient finish that we'd incorporated in one of our matches, Jack Briscoe or Dusty or, was always knocking a referee down or something, If I was going to get close to covering any one of those guys, have to be with a referee knocked out,
Just before I forget, did Honky Tonk Man send Jake Roberts to rehab, as Jake claims?
I was gone. I don't know.
No, this was in '86 with the guitar thing on the head.
Oh.
And supposedly worsened Jake's addictions and eventually sent him off.
Oh, well, yeah, he said he vertebrae and cracked this and that, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a result. I don't know,
I'll move on.
Who said Honky Tonk?
Well,
Jake?
Jake said that the guitar over his head ended up hurting his neck to the point where he went further into his habits that he already had.
Okay.
Well,
all right. Okay. Yeah. If that's his story. Yeah. I wasn't.
Okay.
I was around him a few other times, and Honky Tonk was nowhere to be seen.
A fine answer there. I'm going to move on then. Sarge Says TV asks, one of Morocco's most famous matches was his Saturday night's main event bout with Hulk Hogan that sets up Hogan versus Bundy. Was it difficult to deal with that? You did some great work with Hogan, and your match was a transition to help get Bundy over. No disrespect to Bundy, it seems like that would be a hard pill to swallow in general. So apparently, were you unhappy that Bundy was getting the WrestleMania 2 main event over you?
No, well, who wouldn't want that spot? Would have been great. But George Scott was still booking. George Scott was still at the book, so I had worked my way out of it. And then I think Steamboat came around after that, where I was able to. I don't know who
That was beforehand. Steamboat was 85, so this would have been 86, early 86. I'll go somewhere else with this, actually. When did George Scott leave and who replaced him? Was it Patterson?
Right around the time of that angle. Wasn't that WrestleMania 2?
Yeah, WrestleMania 2.
Or
That's
3?
80, WrestleMania 2, 1986.
86. What was the first one? 85 then?
Yeah, that was the Mr. T tag match.
And 86 was Piper and T in the boxing.
Yes. Did you ever watch that back?
No.
Oh, well, you didn't miss much. I'll move on. Brian Burke asks, what are your memories of Chief Jay Strongbow? A lot of guys didn't like him. Did you have many dealings with the Chief?
Yeah, he was around all the time. He was a lot more active. He was okay. I like, Chief was cool. He had a job to do, He was office. We were idiots. He tried, he just try and ride, he was just trying to ride out the storm. It was amazing some of these guys, how these guys got, and I'm sure what he did, like I can see George Steele seeing all these monies and main events and angles and stuff going down and the work and, being envious that he wasn't in a position, to rock the boat, or rock the world like Macho Man or some of these other guys are doing, and the businesses had passed them on. Maybe it's a bitterness of that and guys not wanting to, listen to you and stuff. But, what was the total question?
Chief Jay Strongbow, a lot of guys didn't like him.
He was cool, yeah. He was, he wasn't out. He'd go back to his room and clip coupons and stuff after the matches. Yeah. He was, low key, didn't try, he was from the Eddie Graham. He was from the 60s. Joe Scarpa, before he got the Strongbow. I don't know. When I was around there, he wasn't, really hard to get along with. He had things he had to, he had to draw a line somewhere. Bret Hart used to always draw when there happened to be a chalkboard and chalk around him. He'd always draw a caricature of the Chief naked with his studs on and stuff. Yeah, it was a riot.
We brought up Angel at some point before, didn't we? I'm sure she featured in one or two of the chalkboard drawings, didn't she?
Yeah. But he was cool, He was easy to work, If he would fill in on the cards if he was on, you're up in Vermont or Maine or something like that, and pre Vince McMahon Jr. You'd be wrestling with him. He did. Boy, that was a night nobody's going to get hurt. He wouldn't do a lot. Just that chop thing and dancing and sliding and Very easy.
I've not seen much in the way of Chief J Strongbow, but I sort of like peg him almost like in a honky tonk man thing, where like he's not doing anything crazy in there, but man, he gets it. He knows exactly what to do. He does like sort of like that little dance thingy, like a Hulk up, and he's barely doing anything, but people are screaming for him, so he clearly gets it.
Yeah, it was the East Coast. The East Coast there, and when it starts there, you build that momentum. It follows you all the way down to Memphis or California, wherever that honky tonk. That hate follows you. When you get it over the TV, and some I don't know what it is, but people watching and see the honky tonk man and Elvis wannabe knockoff. No good SOB, phony, whatever. And just the heat, for some reason, like I said, California, they were calling me a beach bum. Go figure, So yeah, it just your heat just carries with you. He he's a smart guy.
Do you remember?
Doesn't like many people.
Do you remember any particular like chiefisms? Because apparently you used to have a few like stock liners that you'd use to critique matches or something like that.
With Chief?
Yeah.
Strongbow?
Yeah.
He would He would watch the matches.
Yeah.
That was his job.
Would he not give it like any catchphrases or something that or lines he would consistently repeat or?
Yeah, I'm just a lot of those. Even though I'm an old guy, I got those old lines too. I guess they had those old, the Red Bastine and Strongbow and some of those guys who were locker room guys, and and office guys. They were but they got along with the boys. And there was probably a point there where he changed. He had the tragedy with his grandson drowning or something, and so I pretty after that he was a different man, but yeah, I don't know.
Did he ever fine you?
No.
Okay, he couldn't have been that bad then.
Not that I can remember.
He couldn't have been that bad.
They saved that all for all Buckwinkle. Buckwinkle did all the fining.
Oh, Nick Botwinkle. I'm sure he'll come up again at some point, I'm sure. I'll move on then. Henry Lee asks, did Don ever wrestle Mike McCord, Austin Idol?
Mike McCord. He's a Tampa boy. He was out of Tampa, I think, after he'd come back from he had a run up in up with Vince Sr. up in New York earlier.
Yeah, it must have been
earlier. He was Mike McCord. He was a local Tampa boy, and I wrestled him. I believe a few times. He was a heel there, and then he was in one of those plane accidents, I believe.
Yeah, that was down in Florida with
Buddy Colt.
Buddy Colt, yeah.
Yeah, he was in. So that was. So he was. He had. I remember. He had chow chow dogs. I had a couple chow chows at the time too, and his was mean though. He had a mean one, but yeah, if it was probably an insignificant match. I was a baby face, preliminary baby face. He was more or less preliminary heel, and then was around for a few moments. Around him a few months, and before he was able to develop any type of momentum or any type of gimmick, he was taken down in that plane crash. And next thing I heard of him, he was Austin Idol out of Pensacola, that area.
It's strange how plane crashes seem to reinvigorate the wrestlers who can still wrestle. It's like Ric Flair was the same. When he recovered, somehow he just becomes the nature boy. I don't know. Maybe the time off gives you time to think and consider, what you need to do to change it up.
Yeah, if you desire to come back, like any athlete hurt and working to get back.
Right, I'll move on then. Adam Wright asks, it's possibly been covered, but how he... all right, there's not really a great written question. What were your like splits as far as working out on the road? You know, would you do the old bro splits of like back and buys? Would you work the whole body? Would you do push pull? What was your workout routine throughout a typical week?
Um, if I could, I just keep it on time with whatever I happened to be doing. You know, whether it's pulling and pushing or chest and back or shoulders and arms. I don't remember. There were times when I'd move them around, but yeah, I usually pair up. In the 3 day, usually maybe a chest and back, shoulders, arms, and 1 day for legs. Am I missing something?
Abs.
They weren't as long. They were long workouts, but they said there wasn't as like free cardio. There wasn't obviously the bikes, but there weren't the stairmasters and a lot of those things around to get in. So saving half hour the long workouts.
How long will they last then?
Well, as long as I could. Couple. I remember in Montreal, some guy was a Canadian bodybuilding champion or something. Oh, I work out. Okay. So I was the chest and back. No, nothing heavy. Just a lot of good sized dumbbells, $1.25 or something like that. And good back. I just remember I left the guy puking in the locker room, and the guy in the front was giving us free drinks, trying to figure out with the sheik where we're going to go eat. We were in good shape. We spent a lot of time working out.
How did your workouts change when you started linking up with the Bulldogs and sort of coinciding with your later babyface run? What did you change in the workouts then? And diet, of course, I imagine.
Probably, not really much. Maybe a little heavier in some things. I was with the Sheik, and one time S.C. Jones went after 500 with a bench. But that's the only time I ever, the rest of the time I was, pretty reasonable. And Dino was sometimes. He would certainly. Dino would push me more than anybody. He was really, he was strong.
Did you say that you only worked out 3 days a week?
No.
Oh.
3. Break up 3 body parts. I don't know how many days. But yeah, as many days as I could. I mean, there would. Rest comes when you rest when you need it. Sometimes you can work through without, it was going pretty good.
Oh, okay, well, and it's the big question now, and I've already asked you beforehand if you're all right answering it, and you said you were, and you sort of explained that you were hanging around with like a big bunch of reprobates, so it seemed fair enough. And a few people have asked this as well. Steroids, when did you start dabbling in steroids? And carry on from there, I suppose.
Trying to keep up. Hulk came in, and Hulk's not the cause, but that was the as a 240-pound, 35-pound heel with a 300-pound baby face, and I start get a little bit from the guy down the gym, and then later and on until your knowledge grew, and then there was doctors that the notorious Harrisburg
Zahorian
urinologist,
yeah,
and different guys, and then you would follow. Then you would then other people that had an idea, or knew different people, bodybuilding or gym people that knew what they were talking about, that had doctors they came from doctors. Doctor educated, medical background.
Were the Bulldogs a bit of a bad influence on you on what you were taking at the time?
Were they what for me?
Were they a bit of a bad influence as what you were taking as far as enhancing, workout enhancers?
Oh, I suppose everybody's a bad influence on everybody else. He without sin cast the first stone. Everybody, even the guys. I remember Fuji used to come with me. Even when Fuji and I were together, and we also had the C6 and 12 and the liver shots and stuff that we used to get the doctors and give ourselves. The Fuji was always, brother, give me C6, give me a shot. Give me the vitamin B, the vitamin B. Come on. But, after, come on, food, give me a break. So after a while, fucking load of CC this testosterone. I'll put the C6 and 12 and the liver and boom. So after about a month, he says, "Oh, Azaf," he says, "Oh, son, what do you get?" I gained about 10 pounds, I said, "Yeah." Azaf, food, I gotta tell you too. I've been giving you about CC's a CC cyprinate every time. Oh, no wonder I wake up with a heart on and grumpy all the time. Nobody was totally sin free.
Oh, dearie me. Someone else wanted to ask about cycles. I don't know anything about steroids, obviously. But was it just always on, or was it on for a bit and then off for a while, or what?
It depends who's mentoring you, and after a while, I tried to go with. I had a good guy in Jersey by where I lived that was that had a gym down there and had doctors, and everything was more or less above board.
Mm-hmm. I've also got to ask this, actually, because you brought his name up earlier. Dr. Zahorian, I actually, while reading Jimmy Snooker's book, he mentioned that Zahorian was there in 1982 when he turned up. Was he there that early? And I won't ask who customers were, but I mean, was he there in a capacity as a distributor? From
Putski, yeah. Before I got there, when Putski and those guys were back from whenever they started Allentown, that Allentown Hamburg cycle, I imagine wasn't too long after Putski and other guys that were. And Larry Sharp told me, lots of guys were, it was long before I got there that Zaharian.
Yeah, I thought
bags. Shopping bags he would arrive with.
Did he at least
A to Z?
Oh, really? Oh, right. So it wasn't just the performance-enhancing drugs he was doling out there.
Well, sleeping pills, tranquilizers, vitamin shots, low grade, low grade steroids, testosterone, anadrol, maybe Dianabol. Tony Atlas said he took a lot of Dianabol. But all kinds of stuff. The Wizard asked him for, it was cheap. The Wizard had, the Hart problem, phenobarbital and something else, and other, he had a urology clinic. Good God.
Well, you saw a gap in the market then, obviously.
Yeah.
An opportunist.
The shopping bags were full of dollars when he left.
They were full when they came in, full when they left.
Full of medicine coming in, full of currency leaving.
Oh, dearie me. So I find it amazing that Vince McMahon got off with, got no charges, in the end, or no conviction, I should say, excuse me.
He wasn't putting anybody on the. He wasn't. I guess some guys accused him of ordering them to take steroids or something like that. I could be. I don't know. As far as I know, that wasn't happening.
No, but no, I just find it amazing that he kept bringing Zahorian back for all those years, and until 1990 or something like. Right,
that era was new, and it was pretty much a personal choice, and it wasn't that. It wasn't like they are now. I just saw. Who was the guy, the black guy that was Olympia for years, Ronnie Coleman.
Ronnie Coleman, yeah.
Yeah. And so I interviewed with him, I don't know, it was a few years old. But he's talking about the guy and the steroids and everything else. He's got the body anyways. It doesn't matter, in his opinion. If you're on it, the steroids will make you look better and do better and everything else. But to reach his level, the peak he's at, that type of body structure anyway, which seems reasonable.
This next one's from John Baxter. Hey, Don, I'm wondering if you have any recollection of my old pal, Cowboy Frankie Lane, which you do because you mentioned him in the previous podcast.
Sure, yeah.
He passed away at age of 73 in 2016. Any memories?
Yeah, I first met him when I first started in the business. He was in Portland with Lonnie Main, and it was a good card, good worker, good guy. He was really into himself and drawing. He's the one that trained Jimmy Snuka. We can get back to Jimmy Snuka's story that we never. But he's the one. I don't know how much he charged him, but he trained Snuka, and he was in Portland the first time I was there, and it'd be a good guess that he got Jimmy booked with Don Owens there in Portland after he left Hawaii and went back to Portland. And then I knew him, the notorious story about him and Zulu, Ronnie Pope, they were arguing about car rides or transportation or something. You never heard this?
No, I've never heard this, no.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was they had words, I don't know, harsh or whatever, and they were in whether it's spot show or big show, doesn't matter. But what you call it? Frankie Lane was standing, on the stage, watching the show, and he was on the ring side of the curtain, and he was leaning into the curtain. And Zulu was in back with a pipe and whacked him over the head once, a couple times, as hard as he could, super hard with the pipe. And that pretty much curtailed Cowboy Frankie Lane's career for a long time. And that was before I knew Zulu in New Zealand. I met him in New Zealand.
What? Hang on. Why you sort of left out the bit why it got to the point where he got whacked with a pipe? What was the issue?
They were arguing. The argument. I wasn't there when that, but it's legend. You can ask anybody from my time that knows the story. And I read it. I read it recently. Somebody's Mickey Doyle, I think. He has, because he was up in the upper Michigan, upper area like that. And he had a clear, but it was, you were supposed to ride with me, or I was supposed to ride with you, and you left me and you went on the, 200-300 mile trip, and I didn't have a ride. I had to get somebody else, something like that. And just words were, understand that was, it wasn't, something really, dastardly or something like that. Somebody, some kind of just a silly argument, and bango, whacked him with a pipe.
Yeah, seems a bit over the top. I'll admit from that retelling of the story. I'll move on. Michael McNee asks, could you please share your memories of working in Portland and Seattle when you was there with Dutch Savage? Sort of like a mangled load of words. Did you get that? Sorry.
Yeah, Dutch Savage.
Yeah, do you want me to skip that because you said you didn't really know Dutch Savage, didn't you?
He was working. He was he came through Hawaii. He was a great worker. He was a fantastic worker, brilliant worker. I don't know why he never went east, or maybe he did for a little while, or why he never, got to be a big star, or maybe he just didn't like leaving Washington, Oregon area. But when I was there, he was just a top heel, and he and Jimmy were feuding. I was up there one time when I was rehabbing a shoulder for a couple of weeks, and he was a little bit in the office then, and then I heard just as time went on, he went in and he was doing a lot of manipulating for himself and shorting payoffs in different towns that he had to run. But I didn't know. But after that, I didn't hear. I heard Lonnie Main beat him up a bunch of times, but a couple other guys wanted to, because Lonnie was a big was up there in Portland for a long time.
Was that over shorting of pay, or was that over something else?
Something like that, yeah. Don't know exactly what.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Oh, God, my printer, I tell you. Kevin Bielinski, did anyone ever try to rob Bruno Sammartino? Thanks.
Rob him where?
Well, I think this is reference to when he lost the original WWF title. He left the belt itself in a car. He went into a restaurant or a hotel or something. And when he got back out, he found that the glass was smashed and the belt was gone.
Okay, so somebody tried to rob him.
Yeah.
Somebody did rob him.
Yeah, well, I only included that actually because I was going to ask you, any stories of any of the boys having their outfits or gimmicks or belts or anything like that stolen or lost, or any stories around that way?
Aside from just random ripoff.
No, it could be a random ripoff.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody got a car broken into, or something, a suitcase stolen, or suitcase went through in a airline's flight or something. I don't know that people used to know, I'm going to steal Don Muraco's suitcase or steal the belt. And nobody ever tried to steal the belt from me that I know of, and it never happened. So.
Did you ever have to take that belt on flights?
Oh yeah, you got to carry it with you. Once you win it, you got to fit into your bag. That's why I was lucky I didn't have all kinds of headgear and all kinds of stuff that I was wearing.
Yeah, I've asked that before, haven't I? I completely forgot. Right, I'll ask you probably two more, and then we'll cut it off. Kev Jordan asks, back in the 1980s when everybody was on the road 300 plus days a year and philandering on the road was common practice, do you remember what the reaction of the locker room was to the AIDS crisis, and did any of the boys change their habits?
I imagine everybody changed their habits, and that AIDS came, AIDS came down. Gosh, how long ago was that? 30 years?
40 years. So AIDS was probably
40 years.
Yeah, probably started becoming more prevalent like 80, 81, 82.
80s, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody. I mean, we didn't live in a shell. I mean, we didn't live in a cave. I mean, we had pretty. Everybody was pretty aware of STDs or whatever. And AIDS was a new. Well, I thought to be a homosexual disease at first, and then people learned, and all the. Well, yeah, we were idiots, but we weren't idiots. I mean, if there was a health crisis or a health concern, as any other policemen, firemen, doctors. Normally, wrestlers are really no different than any other conglomerate of professionals, so to speak.
Well,
yeah.
We were watching the cage match with you and Jimmy Snuka, and you both bled at the same time. Was there ever, when you were actively wrestling, was there ever any concern about swapping hepatitis or anything like that?
No, not at that time. You're with the guys all the time, it wasn't, you weren't worried. I don't know, you didn't really expect somebody to be infected with something. You're talking about 70s and 80s. It's quite a while ago.
You sort of just didn't really think about it as much then, would that?
Yeah, I don't remember anybody getting, and to that matter, nobody ever was infected with anything. Or nobody, as far as I know, nobody ever. I mean, people may have come down with diseases or something, but it wasn't because of, a blade job or something else, well, something, if you hadn't taken care of it or you hadn't washed properly or, something like that, but it's not something, you caught from somebody else.
No.
AIDS or whatever else.
Did you ever suffer with any staph infections, and were they really prevalent, especially with mats not being cleaned every day or replaced every day?
Guys washed down a lot with alcohol and stuff. I got it from surfing. Quite a while. I just bumped my knee in the coral and couldn't even see it. It was a scratch. Well, it must have hit something, And I cuts numerous times in the water. I usually wash it out. I had a bottle of alcohol or peroxide in the car, and maybe I missed it that time or something. Oh, that staph infection hurts. That's painful, boy. One of those, sores. And my knee blew up. I think it was my daughter's graduating. 2000. Had to be 2000. Matter of fact, I remember my daughter's graduating from Kamehameha. That's I was walking around in a crutches. Hurt, yeah, staph infections. But the mats, and blood and sweat and everything else. People walking on it. Knock on wood, We were lucky by, as far as I know.
Yeah, you've done well. I'll ask one more question, and I'll just go for the next one on the list, and we'll save the rest for another time. Phil Cole says, "What up, James?" James, that's my name. Can't even pronounce it. My question to Don is, while working in Roy Shire's San Francisco territory, you won the annual Battle Royal in 1978. Any memories on that event, and was it your first Battle Royal win? Thank you.
I don't think it wasn't my first Battle Royal with Shires. It was my first Battle Royal, period.
What does he say? He says, no, you won the annual Battle Royal for the first time, yeah.
Yeah. That's, usually you're top heel, top guy of the territory. And I was the, predominant heel there at the time. And it was a rapid decline. But it was still good, their annual Battle Royal was still a big show at the Cow Palace, close to a sellout or full house.
Find it, mate. So that was almost the precursor to the Royal Rumble having an annual Battle Royal event, and was that always the biggest show of the year?
Well, it depends if you had a good angle or something, but it was a big show. You may have Dory Funk Jr. or Jack, he was NWA. So you may have or Kaniski, you may have a world champion coming through. And then afterwards, Roy didn't want to pay NWA world champion. So the United States champion was the pivotal, and he made his own world tag team champions. It was me and somebody in one of the Invaders or something were world tag team champions there. So he had his own belt. The U.S. He didn't want to go with the world, so he went with that U.S. belt. So the U.S. belt became his title belt.
Mm-hmm. The frugal man, Roy Shires.
Nasty man.
I think in the future we're definitely going to have to do Roy Shires, and that's probably going to be a 17-part episode. But for now, I'll thank you very much, Don. Oh, did you see Greg Valentine?
No, that was Roy. He was always spitting all over the place. His tongue going, his thing.
What was up with him? Was he dipping or something?
No. He do his tongue like that. He move his tongue on he's spitting and he was okay. It was just he just didn't have a regard for anybody, aside from himself
or cleanliness.
Yeah.
Right. So
he was
sorry. Carry on.
He was well kept.
Okay. Good.
Just don't walk around barefoot.
yeah, just don't walk around behind him.
Yeah, so barefooted where he'd been.
Oh,
Make sure you
dear.
had your shower shoes on.
I will shut the podcast down. Thank you very much for joining us once again, Don. I'm walking away from the microphone already. Thank you very much for joining us again once again, Don. I'll do the plugs first. Instagram, blah blah blah, books, and thank you for entertaining us. And we'll catch you again next week.
Okay, aloha.
Aloha.